In November 2021, we carried out an experiment on non-combustible next-generation FRP and non-combustible heat insulation materials. This was another test of our invention in the hope of creating a product that will save lives and contribute to the society.
本日は ET ドリームのデモンストレーションにお集まりいただき誠にありがとうございます。ただいまから3時までの3つの実験、燃えない屋根材の実験、AI 消防士に見立てたラジコン戦車の実験、そして壁に見立てたこちらのサイディングを使って放火犯撲滅への実験のご案内をさせていただきます。
A model of a house made of wood is used for experiments on non-flammable roofing materials. The roof on the left side of the building is an ordinary commercial roofing material. The roof on the right side is the same roofing material as on the left, but processed with each dream's next generation of non-flammable FRP. Let's set this house on fire and see what happens to the two roofing materials. The non-flammable roofing material on the right side was sprayed with kerosene beforehand to make the conditions more severe. In an experiment to create AI firefighters, a radio-controlled toy tank is placed inside a case made of non-flammable insulation material from each dream, and a fire is set over it. If a radio-controlled device taken out of the case exposed to flames works, it can demonstrate the potential of AI firefighters. Let's ignite the kerosene and expose the model of the house and the case containing the radio-controlled toy tank to the flames. Let's add more kerosene to make the situation more severe. In the experiment, kerosene is poured excessively on the non-combustible EDM roofing material. If you can see that the flames are coming from the roofing material on the left, while the roofing material on the right is not burning, each dream's non-combustible materials are not only highly fire resistant, but also show another important feature: they do not produce toxic gases in the event of fire. The heat emitted by the flames was so intense the camera couldn't get too close. On the other hand, a person holding just a simple plywood board spread with each dream insulation could get much closer. It is revolutionary to be able to get so close to the flame just by having this board, and it will be of great use in firefighting. The case containing a radio-controlled toy tank is also completely engulfed in fire. If the device inside can still work after combustion, it can prove that the electronics inside the AI firefighter can enter the flames and extinguish the fire without being affected by the heat. About 13 minutes after the ignition, the commercial roofing material burned and collapsed completely along with the wooden house. The non-combustible roofing material on the right retains its shape. When it was checked inside, the original roofing material protected by non-combustible material remained firmly in place and burned, although softened by the heat. "20 minutes since the fire was lit, the case with the radio-controlled toy tank in it was opened. The plastic radio-controlled toy was melting from the heat. If we could have shown you the radio control system in action, we would have been able to prove the AI firefighter's efficiency. The case that held the radio controller was not a single molded box, but a box made by joining hexahedrons together. So heat was generated from the joints, and that's why the experiment failed. What can be done to protect people from the vicious crime of arson? One answer would be to build houses that do not burn. In this experiment, we prepared 3 boards which looked like the walls of a house. The first is commercial non-flammable wood with commercial steel siding. The second is commercial wood with H-Dreams non-flammable steel siding. The third is commercially available wood sprayed with H-Dreams non-flammable insulation. Set the flame to the 3 boards with a burner to verify effects of each. The commercial siding began to emit toxic fumes within 10 seconds of being exposed to the flame. Flames broke out in less than a minute. Although the product is marketed as non-flammable siding, the heat is transmitted to the backside and the wood burns. This is the reason why even if you use non-flammable siding, arson or other external flames can cause a fire. H-Dreams non-flammable steel siding does not produce the toxic fumes or flames found in commercial steel siding. This board is made of commercially available wood sprayed with H-Dreams non-flammable insulation. There is no sign of burning even after a long time of exposure to the flame. There are many possibilities to successfully use them in various situations where non-combustibility is required. When the commercial steel siding was removed, the back side was charred. The wood attached to it was also charred. The wood, where the H-Dreams flame-proof steel siding was installed, remains clean. The back of the siding does not show any changes either. If non-combustible building materials from H-Dream were widely used, we could dramatically reduce the damage caused by fire and save some lives. We will create a severe fire situation for 3 building models to verify the effectiveness of H-Dream's non-combustible materials against fire. The first model is made to look like a warehouse. The kerosene poured into the bottom case is lit. Some ice is placed inside to make sure it does not melt. The second model is a house made of building materials used in ordinary houses. A box made of non-combustible material from each dream is placed inside the house to look like a room. It is a place to evacuate in case of fire. Inside the box is a 10,000 yen bill. This is the pocket money of the EDM president who is confident that it will not burn. The third is a wooden house processed with non-combustible materials from each dream. This is an experiment to create a house that is not only flame-proof, but also one that can be restored to its original state by replacing the siding with new ones. To make the fire scene harsh, kerosene is poured over and over again. A plywood board sprayed with each room's insulation was also actively used in this experiment. However, an accident has happened. In addition to the collapse of the surrounding walls, the iron stand with the 10,000 yen note box on it got bent because it could not withstand the magma-like temperatures. The iron stand also collapsed, causing the box opening and exposing 10,000 yen note to the fire. Let's forget 10,000 yen note and keep adding the kerosene for the experiment. Nearly 9 minutes after the fire was set, the houses made with buildings materials used in ordinary houses were completely burned down, but the buildings processed with non-combustible materials from each dream were standing strong. Moreover, each dream's products are inorganic and do not produce toxic smoke. Even if some people were to be inside this building, they would be able to breathe normally. We continued to burn more kerosene for over 35 minutes and then we ended the experiment. Let's open the lid of the warehouse looks-like model to see what's inside. The ice remained almost completely unmelted. Even in the case of fire, it can be proved that the warehouse insulated with each room's incombustible material would save the product inside it. The inside of the building was safe to touch, indicating that it had blocked out the intense heat. The charred siding from a model of a wooden house that did not burn can be removed and replaced with a new one. If the house has not burned down and it's still intact, the exterior can be replaced and revived in this way. It would also lighten the financial burden in the event of a fire.
今日の実験の4番目にあたります。今見ていただくと分かりますが。
Let's place a box made of non-combustible material from each dream on a model of a wooden house and place a light bulb inside. The cable extending from the bulb is also connected to the power supply through a tube made of non-combustible material. Set the fire both the house and the tube and verify that the power supply can be maintained even in a fire situation. The cable has a breaker attached to it, so you can tell if the material covering the wire melts and causes a short circuit. The heat resistance in conventional indoor wiring is considered to be limited to 70 degrees Celsius. The main point of the experiment is to see if the tube can shut off the heat of the flame, which reaches 1200 to 1400 degrees Celsius, and continue to supply power. Seven minutes have passed and the breaker has not tripped. We ended the experiment after 16 minutes from the ignition. The light bulb stayed on. If a fire breaks out in a freezer warehouse, the products inside will not melt as long as power is still supplied. This experiment has shown that this is possible with each Dreams products. Although this demonstration was not entirely successful, we hope that it gave you some ideas of the potential for each Dreams next generation non-flammable FRP and insulation materials. The 10,000 yen note that got burned down by accident would have been safe if it had been placed in the same place as the ice or the light bulb. The experiment also goes to show you that no matter how high the performance of a product is, it will be useless if it's not prepared properly to take full advantage of it. With this in mind, each Dream will continue to develop products that will contribute to the society.